Hey everybody, welcome to Panthers Forecast. We're going to be talking about this upcoming game this Sunday in Charlotte against the New Orleans Saints. And as Birdman said, either you're with us or you're against us. Either you're in the huddle or you're out the huddle. This is a do or die game. And we definitely got to take the Saints serious. So I wrote down some key points in this game where I think the Panthers need to execute in order to win. So the first thing is we cannot sleepwalk against the Saints. Even though they have a bad record, 1-8, this team is still feisty. Now last week they didn't really play all too well against the LA Rams, but this is something for Panthers fans to think about. We lost to the Buffalo Bills 40-9, and then we also lost to the Patriots in the 40s. I think that one was like 43-9, maybe. I could check that up, but I still know it was a blowout because I watched both of those games and it was pretty bad. The New Orleans Saints actually played the Buffalo Bills pretty close. Now, I watched some of that game against the Buffalo Bills. They were actually competing with them into the fourth quarter. I believe it was maybe like 25-19, but they were still in that game. It's just that later on, the Bills went down and scored, and I think the Saints had a hard time. I know they were going to go down there and score and maybe even tie the game, but penalties got them out of there. So the Saints, just like any bad team with a bad record, they also have a lot of self-inflicted wounds. Similar to the Panthers, we also have a lot of self-inflicted wounds. Game against Arizona, Bryce fumbles early. Also against the Patriots, that missed coordination on the special teams, which led to that touchdown for the Patriots to sort of get back in the game and sort of fill themselves. Because we were actually playing pretty good against the Patriots, but then ever since that special teams turned for a touchdown, the Panthers, we started to nosedive. So this New Orleans Saints team is also pretty good. They also played the Patriots. I think they only lost to the Patriots by 6 points. It was like 25-19. I believe with the Patriots got up early, and the Saints more than likely had offensive miscues later on in the fourth quarter, trying to get back against the Patriots. But that's one of the first biggest key is that the Panthers, we can get focused on their record. We can't just think that we're going to go in there because we're at home. We only lost to the Bills because Bryce wasn't playing. Like, no, the Saints can still possibly beat us. They still got a good, mixture of adding in the Wildcat. They still have Chris Olave and Brandon Cooks. And then they got Kool-Aid, McKinstry. I hope I'm saying his name right. But, yeah, he's actually a good a cornerback from Alabama. And I think he was picked right after we picked Ted McMillan in this current year's draft. So, I mean, the Saints, they got a few pieces there. It's just that, just like in any team what would have like a bad record, that they make mental flaws on defense and they make mental flaws on offense, but they can't really recover from it. They're almost kind of sort of like how we are the Panthers, but only I feel like we got more pieces and we're more cohesive than the Saints. So therefore, if we do make a mistake, especially against a good team, that sort of hurts us. But I think against bad teams, we can afford to make those kind of mistakes, but still get back on track a little bit better than we were year prior. So some of the keys for the Panthers to win, I was looking at some of the highlights against the LA Rams, and I saw that their running back on the Rams was doing a pretty good job of running the ball against the Saints. And we need to also protect Rico Dowdle. I'm really big on that because if we are going to go to the playoffs, I know people might say that it's a shot for us to get to the Super Bowl, but, there's always a wild card team that always shocks and, catches another team that's good, off guard. And I think we can definitely be that team because most people aren't really good. If the Panthers do make it to the playoffs, people are going to write us off. And I think that's actually in our favor. I think that's how we can sneak up on some teams that won't take us that serious. And then, they'll see we have a good running game and then a decent defense. And then, if Bryce takes care of the ball and then if our other receivers can step up, we can also make some a good enough run in the playoffs. But we need to have a healthy dose of Rico Dowdle and Chuba, and I think Chuba can actually run pretty well against this team, against their run defense. I think he can have some success. So I think. I know, like last game against the Packers, we needed Rico to go off. We needed that explosiveness. This game, I think we can sort of have them sort of balanced out more because I believe the last game I think Chuba only had 5 carries and Rico had about like 20 carries. I think we can sort of like maybe have Rico have like 15 and then Chuba have 10 or so. I think those are sort of good because we do definitely need to keep an eye on Rico's health and try to keep him upright for the playoffs. Another thing is just we got to protect Bryce. The Saints, I think so far this year, the Panthers have about 14 sacks. This whole right now, as of right now, they have 14 sacks, and I think the Saints have about like 21, so they're about like 20th in the league, which is a little bit. I mean, they're definitely better than us on getting to the quarterback. So, like always, we still need to protect Bryce. We did a great job of protecting Bryce, I think, against Green Bay. So we need to also carry that over against the Saints. And another one is Ivero. Like his defense, this is going to be Tyler Slaw's second game starting in the NFL. So we have to take advantage of that and throw some complex blitzes his way, and then as well as our defensive end getting to him and throwing him off. Because I saw the game against the Rams. They had some pretty good pressure against them, and they had a sack that was pretty good, but they ended up calling it back for the person that sacked Tyler Slaw sort of drove him into the ground. So it was like a what is that? A defensive. Roughing the passer. They called roughing the passer on them. But the Rams had a good enough pressure on him. And now Tyler Slaw, he does look pretty good. Spencer Rattler's more of a mobile quarterback. He'll throw a wild ball here and there. Whereas Tyler Slaw, he seems to be, your typical like pocket pass quarterback. So we definitely do need to send like pressure his way, and then the Saints also trade their deep ball threat. I can't remember his name. It's like Rashid Shaheed or something like that. Shaheed. I remember his last name because I remember, I think it was last year, he tore up the Panthers. So we don't have to worry about him. We don't have to worry about Mike Jackson getting torn up. But to bring that point up, we just got to, I know our corners, Mike Jackson and J.C. Horn should be able to handle Chris Olave and Brandon Cook. And then our running game, I see that Alvin Kamara is going to be maybe questionable, but even still, like he's up there in age, so we should do a decent job of stopping him in the run. I'm not really worried about the Saints running game, but the Saints are just a weird team because it's weird. I'll say it like this: there's depending on how the draft goes next year, and maybe they might be 1 or 2 drafts away from being back to being pretty good. They just got to find a quarterback and start putting some more pieces around. But they're still a team that can get the Panthers. So the Panthers, we can't come into this game confident, because we're 5-4. We're trending in the right direction because the Saints will pull our number and will make us rethink everything about our playoff hopes. So that's let me see if I have any other one. Yeah, that was pretty much my main pretty much thought about this game is just don't sleepwalk, take care of Bryce. We do need to have a conversation of protecting Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard. Rico Dowdle because of his electricity, but start using Chuba more. And then as long as Ivero can get some good defensive pressures against this rookie quarterback who's starting his second game, and we show him some exotic blitz every now and then even with our young ends to be able to get after him. They did a pretty good job with Jordan Love, and even Josh Allen before that game got away. So we should be able to get I would say maybe in the game we could probably sack him maybe 3 to 4 times. I'm hoping we can get 3 to 4 sacks against Tyler Slaw, and but we're gonna do as long as we take care of those and we don't sleepwalk, we should do good against the Saints. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was my thoughts about the no moves during the trade deadline. I was hoping we made a move. I was hoping we could probably go get Bradley Chubb, but Jalen Phillips ended up getting traded for a third. I don't know if it was the Cowboys that got him, but or I think it was a playoff contender. I think it was Baltimore. Maybe Baltimore gave him the third to go get Jalen Phillips. Jalen Phillips. I know it was a playoff contender to get him. I know the Cowboys also made a lot of moves getting the defensive lineman from the Jets, but that just shows that we're going to be building our team through the draft. And my thoughts still right now. So this is what I think about our moves in the draft. So I know we got the first round pick. I still think we should go middle linebacker. We need a linebacker in that first pick, and then that second pick we should do a cornerback, and then either our fourth. That third is interesting because right now on our team, we just need better linebackers. Well, we need linebackers that do a better job of covering the tight end. I do know we do need a corner. Like Mike Jackson does do a good job at times, but we need a corner that can hold somebody that has speed, like a corner that just isn't phased by like a wide receiver with tremendous speed. And then we can add some depth into the offensive line. And then wide receiver, I do think that we need to potentially get a wide receiver that can, blow the top off a roof, just like blow the coverage. We need one of those speed demons as a wide receiver. So, like I said, the Panthers were a pretty good team. I think we got like few holes on our team, but I think once we get upgrade in linebackers and then some more depth on our offensive line, and then as well as a corner that doesn't get beat by like a very speedy receiver. Someone that can do a good job of staying with them and even just contesting it. Because most of the time, Mike Jackson is like a couple of feet behind a speedy receiver, or it's just not even close. You saw what George Pickens did to him and Jalen Waddles did to him, but. That's also what we need, but yeah, we need that speed demon. We need more offensive line help and depth, and then I actually think our safeties are doing good this year. Nick Scott. I know a lot of people are crapping on him. He has his moments, but we can also touch up that area too with Nick Scott. But I think our main focus, our main big three issues going into this next draft in 2026 is. Linebacker, corner, those two. You can probably go corner first round, maybe linebacker second round. I mean, it's gonna have to go. I mean, it's gonna have to be like the best player. Depending on if we make the playoffs or if we make a run in the playoffs, that will tell us a lot. So if we miss the playoffs, but we have a good year, like a 9-8 year, at least, that's going to put us around maybe like in the low 20s or the teens. And, that's still a good area to get a linebacker or a corner for the most time. Yeah, corners are a little bit different. I think like, most corners don't. Some of the best corners don't always go in the top 10, so that's why I'm more like let's do linebacker in the first round. Now I know linebackers can still be a bust in the first round, high first round, but so most of the time it just feels like with corners, it's very scattery. You can either get them in the second, the third, you can get a good one. But yeah, those are my thoughts about the no trade. At the deadline, what's his name? Our GM Dan Morgan. Yeah, he's staying consistent in what he believes. So and he believes with that We should be building it through the draft and continuing this youth movement, which I like. I still wish we would have got Bradley Chubb, but yeah, you can't argue with him with that about doing the youth movement. So that's good. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We can't sleepwalk, and if we don't sleepwalk, if we don't take the Saints lightly, and we protect the ball and take care of our P's and Q's, we should be able to win this and continue to look good in our quest for the divisional crown and the NFC South, and then hopefully make the playoffs and make a little run in the playoffs as well. But yeah, and then I just wanted to leave off with R.I.P to Marshawn Kneeland with the Dallas Cowboys. It's tragic, what happened to him. So anybody that's watching this, keep his family in his prayers, and if you have any issues with mental health, just like reach out and talk to people in your family, or just go seek out some help. But yeah. That was it for today, guys, and take care. And I will probably do another video after the game with the Saints. So after we play the Saints, I'll give y'all my thoughts and reactions after the game. Y'all take care. Bye.